Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. My guest today is Greg Burnham, returning for, is this the third time you've been on? I think.
I think so. I think the third.
Yeah, the big milestone one, and then for the first issue of Search for Sadiqah, and
Mm,
now for your upcoming. Is it, and see,
Bridget.
Brit, there you go. See, I hate it when I do that. I don't have it in front of me, and therefore managed to forget the name at the last second. Bridges. So start by telling me about Bridges. It looks cool.
It's a really fun story. So, four teenage girls in Oakland, California. They have been. We're not explaining yet how they got their powers. That's going to come. But
That's okay. I like
they
that.
they're super powered teens. They have a council which mostly makes up of their parents who are these brilliant. They're from all different walks of life. So scientists, military people.
But
Uh,
they're good people, so it's the
yeah,
anti-runaways.
yeah. So they're good.
They don't discover their parents are super villains.
No. It's we actually have
I like that.
we actually have a really cool story as to how the girls came about their powers that we'll delve into as the series goes along.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And I like that it's set in Oakland. They're losing their baseball team and getting a superhero team in its place. And for the
Yeah.
record, anybody with $1 billion needs to just buy the Oakland A's and keep them the Oakland A's. Buy your
Yeah.
own stadium. There's no reason to make the city pay for it.
Yeah, just somebody filthy rich just go in there. That's pretty
The,
sad.
the Oakland A's and the Tampa Bay Rays have become perfect examples of filthy rich people still acting like the government and society owes them money.
Hmm. Yeah.
How many $1 billion do you have to have before you spend $300 million on a stadium that will make you money
Tons of money.
yourself rather than expecting somebody else to pay for it?
Right. It's crazy.
Sorry. It's the way my brain works. As soon as I saw Oakland, I immediately shed a tear and thought about the Sacramento A's. And I insist on calling them the Sacramento A's, if only because Major League Baseball and the A's don't want you to.
Yeah, you think about what the Warriors, they moved out,
Yeah.
and then in the 49ers were the first
Right.
to skedaddle. So, like,
And the Raiders have come and gone multiple times now.
yeah, it's terrible.
Whereas the way I understand it, and I don't understand it well because I'm not a California native, I'm not an Oakland native, but Oakland has its own rich history, as
Mhm.
as 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 interesting and vital as its sister across the bay that we hear about all the time.
All the time, right? Yeah. So,
Um, so does that play into the book? I mean, that's
well,
one of the
that
things I've
was
enjoyed about your other books is that they mix adventure and history lessons. Um,
so this one, not directly. Um, Oakland, like, so the two back way back during the quarantine of the pandemic, a couple of fellas
way
hit me up.
back, it
Yeah,
feels like it was yesterday.
right. Um,
Um,
an artist friend of mine, Jamie Rachal, he hit me up and he was like, "Hey man, my friend and I have an idea for a comic and want to know if you know, how much you would charge to write it." And so that's how this all began.
okay,
When we sat down and really talked through it, it was like there wasn't enough of an idea for me to just like write. I would have to like develop too. So
right.
I was like, let's just partner up. I mean, literally, there's nothing to do. Uh, so that's how we started and like laying the groundwork for it. But they're both from Oakland, like born
Okay.
and raised, and so that was where you know the big onus to put it in Oakland. That's where that came from. So
Very cool.
we'll dig into like little things here and there, but it's
Well, the little things are the fun things.
yeah.
I mean, my little recent fun thing, though also sad thing, is that Ricky Henderson grew up in Oakland and got to then play for the Oakland A's and be everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Ricky has both a strong case as an inner circle Hall of Famer and an even stronger case as one of the most criminally underrated players in history,
Yeah.
because there was nothing he couldn't do.
He was
He's
it.
45 and still getting on base 40% of the time. He was washed up because he only batted 230, but he got on base 40% of the time.
Yeah. Like I don't yeah, he's like this like my whole life he's been the standard for the leadoff hitter. Like
He defined the job.
yeah. So I don't even
He
think
defined it. It went from just the fastest guy to, oh, the fastest guy doesn't matter if he doesn't get on base, to,
right.
oh, it could be really devastating to take that first pitch and pop it into the left field bleachers.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we were blessed enough to be able to watch arguably the two greatest leadoff hitters of all time in their primes in our lifetime, because I think Ricky Henderson and Tim Raines are, it's really hard to make arguments for people who were better leadoff hitters than the two of them.
And
the
Tim
mix
Raines,
of power and speed and plate discipline.
Tim Raines is another one that doesn't get like
not nearly enough. He actually got on base more often than Tony Gwynn, more times than Tony Gwynn.
Wow.
Just enough of them were walks, and they're not valued the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
This is despite the fact that the second half of his career, he was more of a fourth outfielder than a starter, and a great fourth outfielder. But despite the fact that he had way less plate appearances than he had, I think like 1,000 less plate appearances than Tony Gwynn, and got on base slightly more than he did. And this is not to take anything at all away from Tony Gwynn, who's another one of the greatest pure hitter baseball players.
It's crazy that as a kid, and that's all I knew. So I thought it was normal, and I these guys were like normal, when like they're freaks.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, no, that's went through, sorry to derail from Bridges, but that's where Oakland takes my head right now, is Ricky Henderson. And Ricky Henderson to me always leads to Raines and Gwynn, and eventually to Dawson. And, I mean, I know you and I talked Negro Leagues a little bit the last time you were on. And like one of the strong arguments for the people, because until recently, and even now it was more of a PR stunt than anything, but until recently, Negro League stats were considered less than. They're considered like a really high minor league. It wasn't as good as, nobody would take into consideration the fact that, but Ruth didn't have to hit against Satchel Paige.
Right. Yeah, they only would look at it the other way around. Like they didn't play against these
guys. And they talk about, there were still only so many. It's like, yes, but every single one of them was an all-star. Which tells me that just like every other business that got integrated, the best of the best got in, and the people who should have been the bench players got passed over for the white bench players.
Yeah.
And that shows through to our lifetime, where, even as the number of black players started to decrease, and we can get into all sorts of politics in that, I blame the sport, or the youth sports industrial complex. You don't have little league anymore. You don't have even really high school ball nearly as much as you have pay to play youth baseball.
Yep.
Travel ball.
Yep.
Which is why all of our American born players are from the suburbs now.
Right.
We don't even have white country kids anymore.
And the crazy thing is, we're seeing it spill over into basketball as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Like
into all sports.
Of course, if they see like a kid that's like a major prospect, even if he lives, in marginalized areas, somebody's gonna pluck him and pay. But that's it's gross. Like I just saw a guy was talking about how criminal it is that like these youth sports like rec league, like where kids are just playing the game, like I don't have intent on going to the NBA or to play in college. I'm just playing for fun. And
And they
that,
barely exist anymore because
yeah,
there aren't enough people in them to support.
right. Because everybody's trying
Right.
to, you know,
Right.
get prepared.
Yeah, no, if I ruled the world or even just had a baseball team or $1 billion, first thing I do is pour a ton of money into just allowing anybody between the ages of like 4 and 25 that wants to play baseball just on Saturdays or whatever
We have some,
has the equipment and opportunity to play baseball.
yeah, it's tough.
Um, which I mean, we briefly had because before everything got organized, you know, baseball is even easier than basketball to really play completely on your own because you don't even need somebody to build a hoop. You need to find some sort of stick and some sort of ball. Um, the more we had park districts and whatnot, the more basketball became an easier game to play. Um, Soccer's on par with baseball in terms of ease to play because all you need the ball and enough space, and but in some ways it requires more space than baseball
Yeah,
because you know, I mean, there's so many variants on things that lead to baseball skills like stoop ball or you know, stick ball where you got to keep it in the street, but like you know, so you got to hit the line drives because if like the foul ball isn't the first baseline, it's if you got to the sidewalk, it's foul.
man, we had like a little side field that was where anybody could play. And then like behind like my house, so we live military base in Missouri. We basically created a field and it was huge and it was just grass. Like we would go out, like take turns cutting it.
Right.
Um, we put, stuff down to be the bases. We played, it was, you had to be good to play there. And we played like if you strike out, you kiss the ground. Like, but it was slow pitch, like
Right.
overhand slow pitch baseball. But because we didn't have catchers, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So yeah, so we would like if you
Well, which
strike
also means that you don't want to strike out because you have to go chase the ball if it gets by you.
that too, yeah, yeah. But mostly,
So I mean, kissing the ground is like just an added
right. I still have like the
insult to injury. You gotta run and get the ball
yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Do
and we
that
would
three
be out
times and
there
then you have to kiss the ground on top of that. You guys were mean.
and we had a schedule. Like we had everything. Like you got to be out here in the summertime. We'd have to be out there because we all played baseball too, like on teams
Right.
and stuff. So it's like you got to get out there early and play our games, man. But it was like, yeah, I coached a little bit of baseball. I mainly did basketball here in Atlanta, but I did coach some baseball, and it was like that. It was like it was tough to field the team. We were with the Cab County, so it's like we would go to the different parks to play different
Right.
teams, and it was some we played. It was some fun. It was fun. Played some good baseball, but it's like a lot of the kids, they either moved towards football or basketball.
Well, and it doesn't seem like any of them play many of these games at all when they're not organized.
Yeah, that's another part of the
You
problem.
know, a part of that's the helicopter parents that don't let their kids just go out on their own, and part of it's they've got more indoor options. Um, but like it's sad to me every time I drive by a baseball field during the summer and there's nobody even playing catch on it. I'm sitting there going, this is a wonderful field, just waiting for anybody to be hitting the ball around. Where are the people?
Right. It's bad, man.
Um, so I mean, someday you got to write your baseball book.
Yeah, I
We need
want
more
to.
baseball comics. I'm
I
telling you.
I already got the idea. I pitched it to a couple of people. They weren't seeing the vision. Um, but I think I may have it in. I just gotta, you know, do some stuff first to get there. But
You know, you got me buying it.
yeah, I had like a
Hell,
nice.
you could probably double the price and I'd still buy it. I don't even know what the price is yet.
Yeah, but I want to. I actually have a couple of baseball ideas that I want to do. So.
I mean, it's one of those weird things, the more we capitalize everything, the more free things get like it doesn't cost anything to go out and play catch with your friends. But
While we were sitting here talking, I just thought about it. I got these right here.
Nice. Couple of baseballs.
George Brett autograph baseball.
Ah, very nice. That's right, because you're a Kansas City guy, aren't you?
Yeah. I have 3 of them all together, but one's at my home. Won't let me get, but it's mine.
I had a classmate when I was in elementary school whose family knew George Brett.
Wow.
I think they went back to, I think, it wasn't something, I mean, among other things, she was an 8-year-old girl. So like she only used it as like the reason to explain why she was wearing a Royals cap, even though she didn't really like baseball. Right. Oh, well, George Brett plays for them and he's a friend of my mom's.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the impression that I got was like they'd gone to college or they'd gone to school together and just like,
yeah.
Which is like, it's still the weird thing to remember, even as I become friends with more and more comic creators and people who used to be that person to me. It's this weird thing to remember that like our superstars are people that we watch and follow, and I don't want to say idolize because I try not to idolize most of them. It's a different thing to idolize somebody on the baseball field and as a person.
Yeah.
But to remember, oh yeah, there was a time where they just had a bunch of friends like we do.
Yeah, they were just regular humans.
And they might still be friends like
yeah, it's crazy. Like being able to be around some of them and like some, retired professional athletes and to really get the human side of them. Right. Like people that you like looked up to, looked at in awe, and now the person is like such a normal, like this.
Yeah, it's like they put their shoes on one at a time as well, and they have to grocery shop. That was always one of my favorite, and it's one of those like really strong memories that I have. So it comes up from time to time, and it like is crazy to me because it was on sports talk radio in Chicago, but the guest was Buddy Guy. I don't remember how Buddy Guy became the guest on the Cap and Waddle show, other than the fact that they did use his version of Sweet Home Chicago as their intro music, right? But that doesn't seem like a reason to have him on the show, particularly like years after the show. But he does the thing at Legends every year where he's got his I think January residency every year, or most years, where he plays every night at Legends. So who knows? It might have just been a slow sports day and somebody decided to call Buddy Guy. But I remember I was listening and I don't remember exactly what the question was, but it was along the lines of like, what's the weirdest thing about being a celebrity, being Buddy Guy, being somebody that like is known with the city and recognizes like, yeah, I was at the grocery store the other day and this guy came up to me and he said, "You're Buddy Guy." And I looked down at myself and I looked at him and I said, yes, I am. Thanks for telling me. And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I looked down at my card and there were some eggs and there was some cereal and there was some ground beef. And I said, "I'm buying groceries. What are you doing here?"
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I think,
but it also reminds me of like why I would never want to be too famous. Because how much would it suck to be a Michael Jordan and not be able to do that?
Not be able to go anywhere.
Right. I mean, people talk about, oh, they've got all the money. It's like, yeah, but I don't know if money actually would make me okay with not being able to just go sit in the bleachers.
Right. Yeah, I'm okay
without buying
the
out
rich
the whole
part.
bleachers.
Yeah, I'm okay with the rich part. But the good thing about
Right.
being a writer is like most people aren't like
Don't know who you are.
yeah, like in comic world, yeah, but like mainstream, people just walk on by. It's cool.
Exactly. No. I think that's writers too in general. How many
Mm,
writers could you actually pick out of a lineup?
right.
Maybe Stephen King.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you with like John Grisham or who else sells a ton of books. I couldn't tell you what they look like.
Dan Brown. Yeah, I would. I
I don't
wouldn't.
know what Dan Brown looks like.
Nope.
I don't know what who's the one that has the A is for the mystery books. A is for, B is for. I can't
Oh,
even remember her name right now, but I don't know what she looks like.
right.
These are the best-selling authors in the world. I have zero. I didn't know what J.K. Rowling looked like until she became an internet troll.
Yeah. Now it's everywhere.
Um, so talk to me about Search for Sadiqah. Issue 2 came out. I'm
Yeah.
assuming 3 is in the works because you left it.
Yeah, 3 is in the work. Like the whole arc should be about 6 books, even though
Okay.
I waffle sometimes and say 7. Um, the problem is it just takes a long time because we got to do this organically
Right.
until I get like somebody drops a large bag of money on my doorsteps. So it takes a while, but yeah,
You mean fundraising takes time?
it does, man.
I know.
And but yeah, really happy with it. I had a new team, Taya, which is one of my milestone cohorts.
Mhm.
Her and her sister Tahila did the art,
Fantastic
and
work.
yeah, so it's a little bit different if you see it, you know, compare it to the first 2
Right.
issues, 0 and 1. So art is a little bit different, but the heart is still there. I love what they did. Like they did some really really good work in this book. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, and it just
I
kind
can
of
do that too.
carries
I have it right here.
it kind of carries Sadiqah's story. She's now you research stuff and you're finding stuff that you want, but then you learn other things too. So while I was researching, I learned about this man Frank Boyer, who traveled. He and an assistant walked from like the Atlanta, Georgia area all the way to New Mexico. He studied homesteading, and so he decided to, start a town in New Mexico. It was called Blackdom, and he did that one. And then when that one, what happened? There was a drought. The crops dried up, and the water dried up, and so he moved on and kept doing it. But yeah, so I was like, I want to make that a little bit of the backdrop because they have to go that
I,
way anyway.
I gotta ask the $1 million question, and I don't know if you know the answer or was there any damming involved?
I didn't see damming, but I did like with the research, the amount that I done, I did see that later that same property they found oil on it. So I wonder if there was any like eco terrorism happening or anything like that.
Right. I mean that, and for our listeners who couldn't like immediately hear it, by damming, it was DAMMING, because one of the great ways to cause a drought in one area is to
Mm-hmm.
redivert the water on the river above the area.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I wouldn't put Pat like when you learn about like all the different things that were done.
I
Um,
mean, I know that there was a lot of that sort of thing done along the Mississippi to the
yeah,
benefit of white towns and the demise of black towns.
right.
Um,
So, but yeah, I didn't see anything about damming. Now I got to go back and look, search more.
I'm sorry.
No, because the thing is like some of this stuff you just piece together, like
Right.
on your own. Um, but yeah, I need to look into that.
Yeah.
Mental note.
How much research do you do? Or is it reading that you do on your own that just feeds into the story, or do you go out doing specific research to then write from?
So a lot of it is like me pulling stuff that I learned in college or, just reading on my own. But then it's like you want to go in and make sure that what you're putting in is pretty factual. Um,
Right.
you can get by with allegory sometimes, but if you're stating, I mean, I come from the
No, no,
old
I
school.
get what you're,
Yeah.
and that pretty much answers my question. I mean, it seems like the initial kernel is from your own reading elsewhere, but then when you put it into the book, you make certain that you get it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that, yeah? Okay. Um, because I also know from comics that that research can be hard.
Mhm.
One of the books that I need to dig into more on 22 panels at some point is, have you read Wake, The
Mm-mm.
Secret History of Woman-Led Slave Revolts?
No.
Oh, it's a fantastic book. Um, and it started out as um just that, the trying to research, and I don't even know if it was originally intended to be a comic. Um, but the records are so difficult to read. The hidden history of women led, yeah, Wake, the hidden history of, um, you have to do a lot of reading between the lines. You have to do a lot of understanding how certain things got phrased because they don't want to say that the ship's captain left the women unchained because they didn't think they were a threat, and one of them seduced and strangled one of the guards and stole the key to unlock the chains, and then they overtook the ship all because the men were drunk. And instead it's like slaves got free.
Mhm.
And you have to work from what you know about how those ships worked to be able to go,
Right.
but how exactly would that have worked? Um, so so it's one part like this history of women led slave revolts, and one part like autobio of the historian doing the research. A lot of it, surprisingly, until you think about it, done through combing through the records of the insurance companies. Because guess who has records on all of that stuff?
The insurance, like the ones that made all the money. I just ordered it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Um, and now I'll put it in the back of my head. If I ever manage to do a discussion out of it, I'm calling you.
Cool. Cool.
We'll get you involved. Um, but yeah, I mean, and it's becoming more relevant right now as we're going through a wave of only teach the history that we like. Oh, no, no, you can't teach that. Doesn't matter if it's true. It will make children feel bad. Translation, it will cause them to ask their parents questions that their parents don't want to have to answer.
Right.
Um, you know,
And I
um,
mean, honestly,
how history gets recorded is, I mean, the reason that we have Negro, I mean, going back to what we were talking a little bit about earlier, the reason we have Negro League stats that can be put into the record books is because there have been a handful of dedicated people over like the last 50 years who have been digging up newspaper archives and libraries all around the country to piece them together,
yep.
because the Negro Leagues didn't have a strong central office to begin with, and half of what they had has been destroyed in one way or the other. The Pittsburgh Courier used to have a ton of records, but their offices got burned. The Chicago Defender once had a ton of records, but they had a lot of those records burned. I mean, there have been specific actions through the years that have been designed to make it hard to know what happened.
Right.
Um, which on one sense is weird to us now, where like every single piece of information is available. But that's also where we're now seeing they've got a new strategy. We don't have a way to get rid of it, so we're just gonna put out 10 pieces of disinformation.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't,
You have
man.
to question it all.
Yeah, I feel so hopeless for the future because we're now in that
I try not to.
stage. Yeah,
I just reread Superman Up in the Sky. It helped.
there you go. I'm going to see Goonies tonight. So,
That's a good one too.
but
Goonies never die.
never ever. But man, like just the way like you see it, like I see it on like when they talk about basketball, like there's this new thing to discredit like the 80s and the 90s, and it's like, hold on, I was playing basketball at a pretty solid level, in the 80s and the 90s, in the 2000s, even into the 10s before I had to retire because of a hamstring. And like, this amazing evolution in humanity that y'all talk about, I didn't see that. Like, I saw
I mean,
athletes.
that's particularly funny because in other sports they like to say that it's earlier that was better. Baseball's not as good as it was in the 20s.
Right, right. But well, that's how it's historically been. But now these young people are pushing back, and there's old people that are giving like just straight up disinformation. Like, so these kids are walking around thinking that Michael Jordan couldn't dribble with his left hand, and that he, like, if
Overrated.
it wasn't for Scottie,
totally overrated. I watched all 6 years of his time in Chicago. If it weren't for Pippen,
yeah, they're saying that, and it's like, no, we were there. We remember him.
I watched the Jordan who was throwing up on the sidelines during every timeout and had a 103-degree fever drop what 50 on the Jazz.
Yeah. That's what like, and we like, and I love Scottie Pippen. Nothing against Scottie Pippen,
Right.
But when they try to make it seem like Scottie Pippen is the reason, I'm like, no. Like, Jordan took him in under his wing and built him into the player he needed to be.
I mean, and I'm not nearly the same basketball guy. So like if we got into baseball analogies, I'd do them even better. But I think I'm on strong enough ground to say that it's kind of hard to absolutely say that Jordan is better than Kobe or LeBron. But Jordan redefined what a player could be in a way that I'm not certain Kobe or LeBron exist without Jordan.
Right. Like, but that's the thing, you have to like respect.
Like, and history. I certainly am not willing to say that they're better.
Yeah, I like Magic Johnson is my favorite player because I'm a Laker fan. Right. Kobe Bryant is my second favorite player. And I have no problem saying that Michael Jordan is the best basketball player I've ever seen. Like, right. And that goes back to when I started watching basketball at the end of the 70s all the way to today. Like, well,
it's kind of like, I mean, it's like watching Shohei Ohtani today.
Yeah.
Every day he does something that you've never seen before, and he does all the other stuff.
Right. Like that's always.
That's Michael. Yeah, every day he did something that you had never seen before, and he did all the other stuff well.
Yeah. And still had the high IQ and still had the guts and the moxie and like,
I mean he fell off a cliff after he got traded, but it's like peak level Javi Baez. Javi Baez for 2 years was as good as anybody you ever saw. Because he just did everything well and every day. Now, again, that's one of the things that makes Michael great is he didn't do it for 2 years. He did it for 20 years. For 20 years. He went off and played baseball for a year and a half and came back, and it was almost like he hadn't lost a step.
Right. Everybody was shaking in their boots. And
for that matter, he went off to play baseball for a year and a half, and no, he wasn't a good baseball player, but he was good enough that he belonged at AA, and that's better than like 89, 90% of all the baseball players in the United States. And he was 30 and hadn't played baseball in 15 years.
He was a kid, right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, even like when he went to Washington, he was playing well. The first year he got hurt. Then the second year he played every game. He was just older, but I even pushed back because again, when you're there and you're watching, there weren't a lot of guys that was like eating his lunch. He was killing mostly everybody.
He was on a really bad team.
Yeah.
And he had gone from being otherworldly to just top of the worldly.
Right. So he still come out.
So he was no longer Superman. He was just Batman.
Right. So yeah, and
people who said he was washed up were comparing him to himself. I mean, it's the Beatles problem.
Right.
It's the Beatles problem. How can Paul McCartney ever do something great?
Right.
If you take Paul McCartney's music outside of the Beatles and you don't know that he was a Beatle, he's done a lot of things that are great.
Yeah.
But he was a Beatle.
Right. So yeah, I don't know what's happening with the world, man. But that's just one instance. We could talk about politics. We could talk about world.
Well, and
news.
Some of this is just recency bias.
That too. Yeah.
Both recency bias and like just our own lens bias. I mean, there was a great study recently that everybody thinks the world was at its best essentially when they were 11 years old.
Yep. 11 to like 13 when puberty started messing with your brain.
Right. Like 10 to 13 is that sweet spot. Whatever the world was like in those pre-teen years. That's the best. Because they were developed enough to start really appreciating things and still not developed enough to start getting cynical. Right.
And you still,
I mean, there's brain science that makes it make perfect sense that is what, but it also means that 90% of the world doesn't manage to think objectively about the life around them. Right. They only think about when they felt best.
Yeah. What it mean and how things mean to them. And that's what, like as when you study history, when you study it enough, then you realize that, you understand those kind of things going in. Right. Like there was a guy that was arguing because I was combating something that Isaiah Thomas said. And this guy was like, man, you're just talking. There's no way you could have watched all those games back then. And I'm like, why is there no way? Like I watch probably 10 basketball games a week today. I was doing that when I was a kid. Like I don't understand. Like why is it like?
Well, and comics is probably the medium where it comes out the most. Everybody's Justice League is the one from their childhood. Everybody's Avengers is the one from their childhood. Everybody's X-Men is the one from their childhood. Or almost everybody's. I am regularly the like exception to this rule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not always, but regularly.
Because you're on the inside, like I see that a lot. These guys, like when they announced that there may be a female Silver Surfer, and this one sports group, these guys are like, Silver Surfer. I'm like, man, you guys don't read comics.
You want to really make people freak out. Suggest to them that there will be a female baseball player. Never mind the fact that there's a history of it. Never mind the fact that baseball in particular is a game where it's hard to argue that the physical differences couldn't be outweighed.
Right, because it's not a physical.
I mean, I can tell you 2 different types of female baseball players that I think could be hugely successful all but immediately. A glove first, fast as hell, slap hitting up the middle player, shortstop, center, or second, or a knuckleballer.
Yeah, you can't really do.
I'm not saying that there aren't other things that women could do in a baseball field, but I am saying that there are 2 established types of baseball players
that they could fit into.
There is no reason that there couldn't be a female Ozzie Smith. There is no reason that there couldn't be a female Joe Necro.
Yeah. No, I have nothing for it. I have nothing against. Like that's, yeah.
And for that matter, go that next step. How many have you ever seen like those times where they'll have like a major league hitter try to hit against a U.S. women's softball pitcher and then vice versa?
But I would love
And
to do that.
the U.S. like the best hitters on the U.S. women team can almost always make contact against the major league hitter. Whereas the major league hitters almost always swing and miss. Now, mind you, they do it from the same distances. So the major league hitter has to do the 40-foot mound that it is
Mhm.
for softball and the underhand whatnot. But that tells me that you could also probably have a female submarine pitcher.
Mm.
That somebody who adjusted their softball throwing to a similar angle.
Dan Quisenberry.
Right. Dan Quisenberry, Chad Bradford, Kent Colvey, Byung Kim. You remember Byung Kim?
Yeah. Let's do this, man. We got to make this happen. I don't know how.
There is starting this year going to be a professional women's baseball league again.
Yeah, I was reading about that.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, this is another problem where, baseball teams are owned by billionaires, and we know how billionaires feel about the world right now. They feel like it's going to hell in a handbasket because old white men are not understood to be infallible.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's essentially the position, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, they're being.
You're prejudiced against us because you tell us that we're occasionally wrong when we're talking about your lives.
Right. So it's like accountability.
Not even when we're talking about our own lives. You tell us that we're occasionally wrong when we're talking about your lives, and that means that you're prejudiced against us.
Right. Yeah, it's a
reverse racism, man.
It's an interesting time, man.
Oh, it's a sad time.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad. I'm not gonna lie.
Because it's not interesting because it hasn't happened before. It's interesting because it has happened before, and somehow we've allowed people to convince us that it was either better that way or hasn't happened before.
Right.
Or that this time it's going to go a different way. Don't worry about a stock market crash, as we do everything that led to the stock market crash. I didn't mean to get depressing, Greg. Talk to me, and hopefully this isn't too depressing because you seem to be one of the more successful at it. Talk to me about self-funding, self-producing, kickstarting comics. I mean, I talk to a lot of people that work for companies that back up a monthly schedule and whatnot, and that obviously isn't something that's easy to do when you have to find a way to fund yourself. I think you and a lot of your co-creators have day jobs, and therefore you're not spending 12 hours a day at the writing or drawing table. You're doing other things as well. Talk to me about the process.
Well, at this point, I am, doing this full time. It's a lot different.
That's awesome. At least if you're living slightly better to hand to mouth.
Yeah. That's about it. But this one is interesting, man, because so the book was completed. It did take us a while to get this first one done. We've already realized, and we've all agreed that we're going to bring in some help on the art side for the next issue. I think the art looks good on this one, but we want to.
I've only seen what you have up on the Kickstarter page, but it looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, so this one, we're not even halfway funded, and I'm only trying to get enough for the print run. I don't know if that might have turned some people off. Usually I get funded normally in the first day. And this is we're only
Kickstarter's so weird, man.
Yeah. We're only trying to get 3,500, but I still feel good about it. This book I sent out to a lot of people in the industry just to get their feel about it, and I've gotten very good responses. I think it's a fun book. So yeah, but the Kickstarter thing and all, it's, the landscape is changing. Social media really mutes any post. It's like, if you want to make money off of me, I got to get my cut. That's pretty much how social media works at this point.
Well, and beyond that, and like, you're one of the few examples that I regret not being as active on social media as I once was. So even if it's not, I need my cut, there's so many of us that are your backers, that are your, I like to promote these things, that just aren't as active anymore. Because I mean, a friend of mine in the industry in LA wound up killing all of his social media like a week ago because he put out something about a friend that had lost their home, and all of the worst people came out with all of the worst takes, and he's like, fuck this.
Yeah. No,
And so the balance between, particularly for the people who aren't actually using it to plug their stuff. I've never cared nearly as much about plugging 22 panels on social media as I have about plugging the Kickstarter that I care about, or the little book that I care about, or whatnot, the things that I plug on the podcast as well. But it's harder for me to go out and do that when it's like, oh, I have to be around all of this stuff and open myself up to the possibility of all of this stuff. And like, my motivation to go out and just do the math post that I used to be famous for, the Bridges needs this many dollars, has this many days, I have this many followers.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely a different place. So we're matriculating. I have like some other, podcasts and stuff that I've been invited to come on to. So hopefully that'll help. And then there's some people who have, given the verbal pledge that are going to be going in. So we're just trying to make it work with what we have. Like I said, the cool thing about this one is that the book is done. Like with the last issue of Sadiqah, we had some timing issues that popped up that made it take a lot longer. This one will be like shipped out like as soon as the print comes in. And the printer that I use, they're pretty quick. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. But talk to me some about how you've navigated that, because I'm certain that it's changed multiple times in the time that you've been kickstarting. It seems like, I know for me, and it's not as vital of a part of my life. For me, it feels like every time I feel like I have something figured out, something blows up that makes me go, oh, I don't even want to be here anymore.
Yeah, I think, without sounding like the gloomy Gus,
I'm not trying to. I'm trying to tell me your victories. How have you spun it, and how do you look at it, and how do you?
So in the beginning, I go back to like the Tuskegee Airs one. That one, we didn't pay anybody any money to promote anything. People just shared it. That one went through the roof. We raised like $74,000. We were just trying to raise 10. And then, with the first, few Sadiqah ones and the Solus one that I did with my brother, like those were funded pretty quickly. So I have like a solid base of people who really support like the stuff that I do. Right now, I think what happened with the pandemic and what you said, like some people are just like so tired of being on social media, and the way it is, I have thousands of, I got almost 4,000 followers, our friends on Facebook, but I'm interacting with the same people every day, so it's like they shrunk that 4,000 down to like 40 or 50.
Yeah, honestly, I think I can't remember. Did Heidi McDonald list you in the Beat last week? I feel like she did.
I don't know if I saw that.
I'm checking because I feel like I didn't actually pick up on, or no, I picked up on this because you sent an email through Kickstarter.
Oh yeah, so for the previous one, yeah.
Right. I mean, at this point, half the two places that I find the most is, thank God the Beat is still going through and doing a weekly crowdfunding wrap up that I go out of my way to read and look at and decide the ones that I like and amplify them slash back them, etc. Or I'm getting emails from people that I've backed before and going, yeah, that looks good. I'll back that too.
Mm.
Which sometimes means I get like 5 emails about the same book because I got an email from each of the previous campaigns.
Yeah, that might happen again with this one too. So.
No, I mean, but that creates another problem that I worry about is what happens when people start filtering those emails or not checking those emails because
because coming so much. Yeah.
it's, I mean, I try to check all of my email in part because one of my strategies when social media started really going to hell, was that I signed up for a lot more newsletters, both free and paid. Because that was a place that I could control my information flow more.
Yeah.
Like I used to be able to do on social media, but then they decided, oh, that's censoring. And it shouldn't be censoring if I'm the one deciding I don't want to see it.
Right.
Just like it shouldn't be censoring if a publicly traded company is saying, yeah, we don't want that voice on our platform. It's not good for our bottom line.
Right.
But I know it doesn't look like you were in this one. I just found this week's.
Good.
So I got it through the email. There were a couple of cool ones.
But yeah, so we push on. We're, getting the word out. I had an event last weekend. I got another event that I'm going to be at. I think I just got an invitation for this weekend in Atlanta.
Cool.
The cool thing is, like, we sold a bunch of books, like when we first put them online through the website. So, I think that's going to help because word of mouth has always been like one of the best ways, especially when it comes to comics and, like the type of stuff that I do. Somebody gets it, they read it, they love it, and then they tell other people. So we're looking at
and this is where I need to remind myself and you to what's your website? I signed into the wrong one.
Yeah, so it's platform L7.
Platform. I knew I had it up on my phone. I went project on my computer and it took me somewhere else. So platform L7.com. You can search for Sadiqah. You can get, I don't think I've read the Story of Solace. So I might have to hit you up for that at some point.
Yeah, that's a cool, my brother came up with this story and he wrote like 9 million pages for it. And he was trying to get like,
Damon did the art.
Yeah.
At least on issue 1. I love Damon.
Yeah. And he's doing the art on the next issue as well.
Sweet.
So, yeah, it's a fun book. It's definitely got anime influence. My brother's one of those anime people.
Right. So is Damon. So, that works well.
Yeah. So it worked perfectly. Yeah. So we had fun, and I think we got art done for, I think 2/3 of the book is done as far as pencils and inks. So.
You've got your children's shirt or children's books, and you've got some really cool comics. So anybody who wants to check out Greg Burnham, please go to platforml7.com because he does really cool stuff. I mean, I don't know how to describe it beyond that. I mean, I can go into the diversity and whatnot that are the buzzwords and they apply, but your stuff is just cool, period. It doesn't require that to be good. Actually reminds me sometimes of, did you follow Pornsec Pichette Schultz's Horizon experiment at Image that he just did?
No.
They did 5 one-shot comics where, and he did his with Terry Dodson, and it was called The Manchurian, and it was essentially, what if you had a Chinese James Bond?
Okay, I think are they floppies?
Yeah, they're floppies. So they're going to be, because they were all one shots. They're essentially like, think of them as
Like,
pilot episodes.
okay,
They're hoping that maybe they can get series.
gotcha.
Vita Ayala and Skylar Patridge did Finders Keepers, which is like a reverse Indiana Jones. Tula Lote was the I don't remember all of them right now, but the challenge that he put out was take an established genre and take a cultural identity and write something in that genre that could only be from that cultural identity, where the cultural identity is more than just, oh, I'm doing a Chinese James Bond. It's, if you had a super spy who was Chinese, what would that look like?
Mm.
If you had werewolves who were West African, what would that look like? So it wasn't just like coloring the characters, it was bending the story, and I loved all 5 of them.
Yeah, I feel like the Manchurian one sounds familiar. I think I might bought it.
That was the first one that came out. And I guess that's what I think of what I've read from your work is, yes, it's diverse in that it's different perspectives, and God, do I value that. I as much as I still read plenty of stuff written by white men, and many of them are friends of mine, I don't often get a new perspective on something because of a old white man.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading those for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a difference even between a new perspective that's, oh, I'm telling the same story, but from a slightly different angle, and a new perspective in terms of, I am telling this story. Like with Sadiqah, it's not a different spin on an adventure story. It's like, what would that adventure story be if it was the hereditary queen of, I forget where, because I didn't reread issue 1 today, just issue 2, chasing her legacy.
Yeah.
The legacy matters.
Yeah.
And that makes for stories that are not just fascinating because they expand the way we look at the world, but they're fascinating because they expand what we know exists in the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
It's not just expanding the perspective, it's expanding the stuff.
Yeah, like it's opening. Like there's so much. I think that's why like history was always my favorite class, my favorite subject, is because it's like you just learn. Like there's so much. Like I was just another project that I'm doing, I was watching like different YouTube informational videos, and I stumbled on, and this has nothing to do with the project I was working on, but I stumbled on like the history of like Italian people in Louisiana, and how like the South Italian people were darker skinned, and so when they came to the United States, just like the Irish in the beginning, like they were persecuted, they were oppressed, they were treated like second class citizens as well. And so I saw like, an instance where a few Italian men like were hanged because somebody made a false accusation. And it's like, you're sitting here looking at it. Like, I lived in Louisiana a long time. And one of the first things that threw me off when I moved, because I never lived in the South before, the first thing that threw me off is I see all these people with these Italian last names and stuff. And I'm like, wait, I thought we were supposed to be like Cajuns and rednecks and, like, no, you got like a lot
Well,
of
Louisiana, you probably had some French too.
Oh, definitely. Tons of French. But I expected that. Like, I'm a history kid, so I expected all of that. But then it's like Italians everywhere. And so I had to go back and, look that up and get my understanding of
I
that
mean,
as well.
in some ways, the most basic version of race relations in the United States on a grand scale, not just white versus black or Hispanic or whatnot, is we don't like outsiders. But the white outsiders eventually would lose their accents, and therefore we wouldn't know that they were outsiders.
Yeah, they would be able to assimilate. And so it's like,
and you can almost judge either how long they've been here or how long it took them to lose their accents based on how far west. The Norwegians and Swedes both came late, and it took them a while to lose their accents. So they're all in Minnesota and the Dakotas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
The Italians were after the Irish, which is why you see more of them in Chicago and Louisiana than you see in Georgia and New York.
Right. Yeah. So it's just, it's like you're just always expanding and learning more. There's so much information, whether there's some stuff that's like purposely like hidden, they try to keep under wraps. And then there's some stuff that's not, it's just not the sexy stuff. Like, I've been doing a lot of research on like Black women in science and finding like amazing like feats. Like, these women were working and doing some like amazing stuff. And of course, they're Black, they're women, they're not going to get the credit they deserve. Even if the people that were there with them give them the credit, it's still not going to get, not going to be blasted all over, the world.
Well, and there's the added problem with both women and people of color, or even just any nationality that's new to something. You have the two steps forward, one step back problem. Like, oh, Marie Curie won a Nobel Prize, so we recognize women in science. It's like, no, you recognize one woman in science. There are more women in science.
Like, now it's the same thing with
George Washington Carver.
We
recognize Black people in science. It's like, name another.
Yeah, it's the, Barack Obama, we got a Black president, racism is over with. And it's like, so yeah, they use it as that marker to be like, now you guys shut up and let us go back to dominating.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, because, I'm looking at this man.
And on one side, I get it. I mean, because anytime your reality is shifted, you feel threatened. I mean, I've been going through a really rough patch because some of my basic principles, things like people have a basic understanding of right and wrong and will generally do what they believe is right, even when it's not easy for them. They won't necessarily like bend over backwards. But this last election, like, really told me that, like, it makes me feel, at least, like the general idea of right and wrong doesn't actually matter for people. It's, will this make it one scintilla better for me? Then I don't care who it hurts.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's what it, like, I remember watching on the January 6th as a kid who's grown up, who lived on Air Force bases, for like the first 16 years of my life, and watching those people storming towards the Capitol. And I was like, oh no, because I know it's supposed to happen. And I'm just like, oh man, this is about to be bad. And then after that, I just remember sitting there in awe, like, wow, okay, they're not doing, they're letting them do it. like everything that, all the, like you said, the good and bad, like the patriotism, like all the stuff that, you know, has been preached to you. And then you look at it like, oh, these people they're not really patriots. They just want to win. Like
Right.
they don't care what this guy is. They don't care.
Well, and they have like a completely moving version of what patriotism is as long as they win.
Yeah. And
Because I'm sitting there going, I've been following politics for a long time, and this is not what you cared about 10 years ago.
Right. And to be fair, it happens all the way around. I remember
it does,
like when Bill Clinton was going through his tough times, and a lot of the Dems, it's like you're still standing up and you're still like I support him. And then
and like right now, one of my challenges is the number of Dems who have become willing to dehumanize the voters of the right. I'm sitting there going, no, I can't do that. Yeah, I think they've been misled. Yes, I think some of them are underinformed and possibly stupid, but like if we just start talking about them as if they are automatically as a block stupid and evil and subhuman, then we're being like them.
Yeah.
And nothing will get better.
And the fact
I don't know what will make things better right now other than good comic books. God damn it. We need more good comic books.
Oakland.
This is why good comic books get attacked so much, because they can actually make a difference. I recently, because I finally had a couple of political cartoonists on, and one of them turned me on to a newsletter called Counterpoint that tries to have, or well, not tries to have, it has political cartoons from both sides of the spectrum. Ones that are more left-centered and ones that are more right-centered. And the biggest thing I've noticed is that the right-centered ones are either not funny and mean and don't tell you anything, or can easily accidentally be read to say exactly the opposite of what the artist is trying to put forward.
Wow.
In other words, if you didn't read like the artist's thing about how, this is about, woke lost, blah, 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 you can look at it and go, this is making the right out to be the fascists that they are.
Wow.
But because they won, we're crying, because that makes sense. But no, they meant it as, we won, we're strong, and you're crying little babies.
Right.
And this actually feeds a theory that I've had for a while. And it's not as simple as it's hard to make comics with a right message, and easier to make one with a left message. But to the extent that comics wind up being much more liberal than conservative, and certainly more progressive than reactionary, it's because it is hard to make comics based on false premises. The intersection between words and pictures, the fact that you have to connect the two, both as creators, and the fact that also makes the audience do some actual real lifting as the final collaborator, makes it very hard to successfully create interesting, persuasive things based on false premises. I'm not guaranteeing that it's never been done.
Yeah, but I mean, just overall, like I have my own, so like readers, in general tend to look for like I'm not talking about, you have your casual people that love comics or whatever, but I'm talking about those diehard people, like they tend to look deeper into things. And it's weird, like, so when you hear like people talking about woke comics, like that's an insult or something, I'm like, have you not read comics? Like, when did you start?
Well, where it gets really interesting is when you'll start talking to them about the comics that they don't think are woke comics.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was
And they are
thinking.
also woke comics, and for that matter, they're on board with that wokeness.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, oh wait, now comics is doing a new wokeness. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's again, it's like what you said, like,
But really, it's just that the comics continue to lean further and further towards justice.
right. But I mean, like, but maybe they weren't getting the stuff, like when you go back.
No, I think it was they weren't managing to step. They weren't. The creators are the ones that take it the next step. A lot of the readers don't manage to take it the next step. They see what's there, but like if you really look at it, none of the new wokeness generally, very rarely do you have it where, oh, I realize that I used to be a fascist and now I'm not. It's more, if there's any acknowledgement of it whatsoever, it's like, oh, I wasn't helping enough people. I need to help more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in other words, the new wokeness still fits inside of the old wokeness.
Mm.
It hasn't gone, oh, but you did these horrible things. Because the horrible things were generally done out of ignorance, not out of
That's what, like,
deliberate.
Yeah, as me
for the
like,
heroes
coming to terms with certain things where it's like I used to hate the way, Black people were being portrayed in comics and everything. But I always have to remind myself that this guy was taking a hell of a chance by
even putting him
right. So of course he didn't know what to do, or he didn't understand, maybe certain stereotypes or whatever.
Or even if he did, that got overruled.
Yeah. Right. And so it's like, understanding evolution, understanding like the steps of these kind of movements, it makes you look at things less critically.
I mean, the one argument for what was the Spirit's sidekick? Was he actually called Sambo? That would be horrible. But I mean, the most Eisner ever defended him was just saying it was a different time, which a lot of people aren't happy about. Eisner later would say, what?
Ebony
White. Ebony White is who I'm thinking of. Eisner would later write Fagin the Jew kind of as, at least in his introduction to that book, he would describe it as, I don't think he called it his atonement, but it was him trying to understand what it felt like to be on the other side. Because Fagin in Oliver Twist is always considered Fagin the Jew, and he's a very, very stereotypical greedy Jew, whatever. So he wanted to try to really feel like, but I don't know nearly enough to know if this is an actual good argument, and I certainly don't know if Eisner tried it a different way and was shot down. But like Ebony White, for all the fact that the character is drawn horrifically and the dialect is demeaning, is actually a legit sidekick and often treated as an equal by the Spirit. And I don't know if Eisner would have been allowed to do that in the 40s,
right,
if he hadn't drawn him that way and had him talk that way.
Right.
So that becomes which is better. Another example that I know comes up from time to time, and I've never been deep in it. People talk about Franklin and Peanuts. And Charles Schulz actually wrote about Franklin because for years and years and years, he avoided putting a black character in Peanuts only because he didn't know how to write him and he didn't want it to be pandering.
Right.
But he got enough letters from teachers and parents and whatnot saying how big of a deal it would be to their students or their kids or whatnot just to see the representation that he finally created Franklin. And then, of course, you had the the future controversy of, okay, Franklin's there, but he's no different from the other Peanuts kids other than the fact that he's black. Because Schultz didn't know how to do it differently.
Like I've had that, like when people have asked, like, why don't I do, why haven't they seen, certain characters, certain types of people in my books, and I'm I'm like, I don't, we can be specific. Like they ask about LGBTQ, and it's nothing against it. It's just that I don't want to be that guy that's like, let me check the box to make sure I have one of these.
Right.
So have I developed things that do have? Yes. I have one story, hopefully I'll be pitching like later this year. But I want it to feel organic. I don't want it to feel like,
right. Well, that kind of goes back to what I was saying with the Horizon experiment. Make it so that it matters to the character's identity.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if Sadiqah's straight or not. She might not be. It doesn't matter to her identity.
Right. And that's there was a
if it ever mattered, you could still make her gay.
Right.
I'm not saying you will, but
there was a project that I was working on before it ended up, falling apart. But they wanted like a gay character, and so when I tell you, I spent like a week, and like a whole weekend, like just reading up, like learning. I learned about stereotypes that I never knew. I didn't know that. Just like in the Black community, we joke like if it's a horror movie and we see a Black guy, he's gonna be dying soon. Like we have these jokes. I didn't know that they had like jokes where like when people come out, and like a lot of times in adventure or horror movies and stuff like that, they end up getting killed. And I was studying this and this show. I don't want to name it. I can't remember the name anyway. But it was a show on Netflix, and it happened like right that same weekend when I'm like reading all this stuff, and I'm like, wow. So I never can look at that the same anymore. So now I'm like hypersensitive to that. Like when I watch certain movies, it's like, because you can tell, because especially when you're used to, them pandering and, just putting that stereotype in. So it's like now I'm looking all across the board like, oh man, look how that woman's getting treated on here. My new thing that I can't stand, and I don't understand why. I do understand why, but like sex scenes, like, growing up in the 80s, 70s, 80s, it was like sex scenes were almost mandatory. And now, after like talking with actresses and learning about like, what it's like on the set and everything, I'm like, why you don't even need a sex scene in this movie? Like, why, it's like, sex doesn't gross me out. I like ladies, don't get me wrong, but this is just, it's
my hormones still have problems with that argument. Yeah. But I still remember, have you ever seen Desperado?
Mm-hmm.
I love Robert Rodriguez. I always loved listening to his commentary tracks and watching any documentaries he put on the DVD. Robert Rodriguez DVDs were like must own for the features.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I remember from the Desperado, I think it was the commentary track, is he talked about how, like, on his sets, if you're always required to be doing something. So if you're an actor and you're not in the scene and you're around, somebody's going to hand you a boom mic. Somebody's going to ask you to do that. Somebody's going to, whatever. So like, particularly as he started having bigger budgets and had movies where, you could get by with less people than were getting paid at any given time, people got good at being out of his sight lines. So he wouldn't say, hey, grab this, hey, grab that. And when they did the sex scene between Antonio Banderas and Selma Hayek, everybody showed up. And Selma immediately got completely, because it was the first time she was doing a nude scene. It's still one of very few that she's done.
Yeah.
And he's just like, okay, clear the set. Me, Antonio, and Selma. That's it. Bye.
Weird.
Out. Go.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff you love to hear, man, because like I remember I was listening to Rosie Perez, and she was talking about the sex scene she had to do in Do the Right Thing, and how uncomfortable she was, and how like bad she felt like doing it. And people are always like, "Oh, why don't you just get up and leave?" But it's like you don't understand those dynamics. Like you signed a contract
Because your movie career is over.
over, right? And like and just the fact that she was like she couldn't even tell like if Spike Lee was getting his jolly, like she felt
Right.
like, kind of in a way, and it's like, ew, like it just makes you look at everything differently. Like, what if that's
Why
your
doesn't a young brown actress, and yes, Spike Lee wasn't quite Spike Lee at the time, but it was still a big Hollywood movie.
right,
Why does a young brown actress not speak up about
right,
feeling uncomfortable?
right,
Maybe because she'd like to become an old brown actress.
right, right? And I mean, and her career it was further than because she was also like a choreographer and a dancer and all these things. So it's like you can get like brutally blackballed in Hollywood, and it could
Well, and I think
everything.
it's another place where it's hard to remember that people who do these things we love aren't necessarily better financial off than we are,
Mm,
particularly when they're young.
right,
It's not a guarantee that, oh, I say something and, well, I go back to doing Broadway. No, you
right,
go back to doing hair.
right,
You
and,
go back to Walmart.
and how difficult, like you said it, a young brown actress who, like, honestly, I don't know if she was ready for that stage. She had become popular as a dancer, but it's like this is a huge opportunity for her. And if she turns that, she walks away from it, what they do automatically, they label people difficult,
Right.
tough to work with, blah blah blah.
Particularly the brown ones.
Yeah, yeah. So it's
The
like,
white ones sometimes can get away with it because we have different words for them. I
right.
mean, what's the
But
difference between David Eckstein and Augie Ojeda? Augie actually was a better fielder and a switch hitter, but David Eckstein was scrappy.
yeah, yeah, he's a
So
hard.
his career was longer.
Yeah,
I don't know why he was scrappier than Augie Ojeda.
that's the hardworking. Or they give you the high IQ one.
But have you ever heard a non-white player described as scrappy?
Mm-mm.
I was
Nope.
so pleased when they started giving baseball IQ as something that they'd say about non-white players. But that's
Yeah,
really only in the last 10 years or so.
yeah. Because I was always one of the major, like your IQ. Remember, it was with baseball, it was the middle of the field, so catcher, second,
Right.
shortstop, like all these.
Pitcher.
Yeah,
So much harder to be a black pitcher for so long.
dude, I was pretty good at pitching,
Right.
and I got to pitch like one
I
time.
mean, I'm not nearly the same football guy,
Mm,
but I do remember how big of a deal it was when Doug Williams won a Super Bowl.
yeah,
And not because we celebrated the first black quarterback that won a Super Bowl, but because everybody was coming up with the reasons why the Redskins, for God's sake, had managed to win a Super Bowl in spite of Doug Williams rather than because of Doug Williams.
even though he threw for like 9 million yards. And
Right.
remember, he wasn't even the starter. Like he didn't go into that season as the
Right.
starter. And they were like, oh, and he went out. Shout
And
out
it
to
was just as bad when Donovan McNabb lost 2 Super Bowls in a row. Oh, maybe just black quarterbacks can't
him.
really, they
Yep.
can't handle the big.
Yesterday, we were a Mark Andrews dropped 2-point conversion from a chance to have like 4 black quarterbacks in the final four. And it was that. I mean, that wasn't. I was going for the Ravens for different reasons, but I'm just saying I didn't think about it till just today. I was like, whoa, that would have been crazy. Like we've never seen that before.
Well, but I mean, and I hate to sound terrible, but how much of that is we know enough about head injuries now that there are a lot less high school white kids playing football.
But so there's that, but there's also, there was I think it was a horrible thing that was happening because, as a guy, my stepsons played, youth football all the way through high school, whatever. And a lot of times what they would do is like early on, if you see a kid who's like the best athlete on the field, he's playing quarterback. So you get like your Cam Newton, who's, playing quarterback very young, and he's dominant. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he's everything. And you work on teaching him how to win games for your system instead of teaching him how to play the position.
Right.
So then when it gets to like high school and your throwing mechanics are terrible, but you're still, otherworldly.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, I believe that too.
And so, so now what we're seeing with like the Jaden Daniel, Patrick Mahomes, Caleb Williams, even though he had a tough year, but like these guys have like the throwing mechanics and all
they've actually been taught to play the game.
They've been taught to play the game. And so now you take that, but they're still fast and they're still, agile and, like got really good reflexes and stuff. And
if we could prevent their head injuries, I'd be that much. I ran dementia units for a decade, and I had a severe concussion a couple of years ago. So like I have trouble watching. I can talk about football a little, but I don't know current football because it's been a long time since I could watch a football game without like just going.
Yeah, I'm like that.
He's going to be 40 and living in a nursing home.
Right. And like they have done some things to clean up, to try to clean up as far as how you hit and all of that. But
I have a solution. Can't avoid. Nobody likes it, but I have a solution.
What's your solution?
Professional flag football.
Man, it might get there at a certain point, or they're going to use robots and stuff to play.
I actually think that if football wants to survive, they should be considering it, because when did boxing completely diminish in popularity? When they stopped playing it. When they stopped having high school boxing. When did they stop having high school boxing? When they figured out that you didn't have to be a pro to suffer complete brain damage.
Right.
And that meant that it wasn't they're getting paid for it, so it's okay, which is still currently the argument for the brain damage that NFL players. The first time you have a high school that is bankrupt from a lawsuit from some 25-year-old who never even played college football, whose brain doesn't work right, you're going to see tackle football in high school go away really, really fast.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Because I love the game, but at the same time, what it's doing and like
but I mean, we're seeing a rise in girls flag football, so I've actually gotten to see some, and for that matter, we've done flag football as a thing in Pro Bowls in the past, or in flag football can be a really entertaining game. And it's not no contact. It's just more like soccer or
realistic
basketball contact rather than contact is the thing contact.
Trying to
For that matter, it's like hockey contact when hockey's being played correctly.
Yeah. There's still going to be some, but it's not.
It's okay to have some risk. The game is not as interesting to me when the entire, and I know it's weird that like my favorite team in history is the 1985 Bears, because my God, were they good at this. When the entire like purpose is to just maul the other guy. It just stops being like interesting.
No, I like they have, they've cleaned up. I was laughing because there was a play yesterday where they called roughing call when two guys went to hit Patrick Mahomes after he slid, and they hit each other, like both of them, like their crowns hit each other, and they just
Right.
barely nicked him. And people are like, "Why are they calling the foul?" And it's like, well, number one, he was sliding. Number two, you're supposed to see what you hit. So both of them went in with the intention to hit him, and just because they barely grazed him and didn't cause injury, they probably caused
To
a little
him,
bit of injury.
they might have caused injury to each other.
Yeah. But I mean, just that fact, because that's what you teach. You're supposed to be teaching when they're
right. Well, I mean, here's an example. You're a baseball guy too. Do you miss home plate collisions?
No.
Do you miss crazy takeout slides at second?
Let me see. I mean, that was the way we were taught to play the game, but it's the same as trying to knock somebody's head off if they're coming across the middle, right, or trying to.
Well, but that's kind of what I'm getting at is like, I enjoyed a crazy takeout slide. I enjoyed a home plate collision. They weren't an essential part of baseball. I don't miss either one of them.
Yeah, you didn't need them, and
I think that even in football, thinking that the violence is the important part is a dangerous.
Yeah. And always like,
because for the fans that it actually is, you're never going to make them happy anyway.
Right.
And you have them all. There are no people who don't watch football who are like, if one more person died a year playing football, then I'd be a big football fan.
Yeah.
But there are people like me who, if I wasn't worried about the lives of the people playing, might be able to enjoy the game.
Enjoy it. Yep. It makes sense. Like I think, like in all sports, like intimidation was a key. It was like, I know in basketball it definitely was, football it was. There were rules.
But intimidation comes in different ways.
Right. And that's what I was getting at. Like,
I mean, like, I think the most intimidating pitcher of my lifetime is Randy Johnson, because Randy Johnson. But the second most intimidating pitcher of my lifetime is Billy Wagner, and for the exact opposite reason. You looked out at him, and you're like, is this kid still in middle school?
Right.
What the hell is he doing on a major league mound? And then the ball went by you at 103 miles an hour, and you went. I remember vividly a time where he was pitching against the Cubs when Joe Girardi was doing his second stint with the Cubs, and like 102-mile-an-hour fastball straight down the middle. Like, if he'd been able to move his bat fast enough, would have been like easy, right? Except that it was so clear that despite the fact that Billy Wagner was in his like second or third season, so he had to know that he could throw 102 miles an hour. It was so clear that he was not ready for that speed. Like, the bat never really left his shoulder, and he just looked back at the umpire and he went, "That was fast." And the umpire went,
right. And then you think about somebody like Greg Maddux, like, that's intimidation. And
because you're like, I should be beating the crap out of this pitcher, and I'm not. What the hell is he doing?
Putting you to sleep with 91-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, and Maddux had the greatest quote about speed that I've ever seen. He's like, go to a highway overpass with a radar gun at night where you don't have a ton of cars, and look for that car where you have no other car to judge it by, and guess what speed it's going, and then gun it. You're never, ever, ever going to be right.
Right.
You cannot tell the speed of an object coming straight at you unless you have something to compare it to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was. I just saw the clip where they were saying that that he was calling his pitches, and have you seen that? Where
I've
he's
seen some of them.
Yeah, where he's like he had different signals for for Perez, like so like like just different things. Right. So every at bat, like every pitch, he's doing something different to tip you off.
I mean, Maddux is the example of one of the few pitchers that having a personal catcher really, really mattered, because he had such an elaborate pitching style, such a precise pitching style, that it mattered to be on the same page with him, and managing to be on the same page with him and keep track of the rest of the staff was not an easy task.
Yeah, and I always used to wonder because, I'm like, Javi's the better hitter, but he always would come out with Perez, and I'm like,
and again, because he and Perez would game plan days in advance.
Yeah.
That,
I mean, and they had telepathy, like,
right,
this is a fastball. I'm about to,
right,
like,
right.
I'm scratching the back of my
neck. You'd hear stories like, Leo Mazzoni would come to take him out of the game, and you go, "No, Leo, I'm going to get him pop up to third on the second pitch. Give me 2 pitches, and I'll end the inning." And it's like, okay. And sure enough, 2 pitches later, pop up to Chipper.
Yeah. Dude, when I first moved here, I know I said it, but it was like I had a 60% chance I was going to see Maddux, Swolz, or Glavine every game I went to. Like, come
on. Whereas, since I was 12 when he left for Atlanta, already my favorite pitcher, for the next many years, I had to count the days to figure out which day he was going to pitch in Chicago. I actually managed to go to, I think, 8 of his next 10 starts in Chicago.
Oh, wow, cool.
Often literally by counting from the beginning of the year. Because my dad and I were part of a season ticket, where we got like 10 games a year. And like I would use my first 2 picks on 2 of the first 3 Braves games, the ones that he was most likely to be pitching.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was crazy, man. Like just watching it.
I was there, and do you know the stat, the Maddux?
Which one?
There's now a stat called the Maddux.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like an official stat yet, but it's being used more and more. Though I find one flaw in it, and I'll explain that in a second. Because what the Maddux is a complete game shutout where the pitcher throws less than 100 pitches.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one.
Now, here's my problem with the stat. I feel like a true Maddux shouldn't have to be a shutout. Because the greatest game I ever saw pitched, it was July 22nd, 1997 at Wrigley Field. And Maddux beat the Cubs throwing 78 pitches. In fact, Maddox's 8-pitch at-bat as a hitter in the 6th inning was tied for the longest of the game.
Wow.
With Eddie Perez. Also had an 8-pitch at-bat. Maddux saw more pitches that day as a hitter than any 3 Cubs hitters combined.
That's nuts.
Because he threw a complete game on 78 pitches. But the score was 4-1.
What was the date on that one again?
July 22nd, 1997.
All right.
So the year of his last Cy Young.
That was a week before my son was born. I don't think I saw it. I was trying to see.
And it was like a perfect day for me because it was a doubleheader and the Cubs creamed the Braves in game 2. So I both got to see a Maddux gem and a Cubs win all on the same day.
That's crazy.
I mean, I would show up to Wrigley Field in a Maddux Braves cap and jersey, but with a jacket and a Cubs cap. So if Maddux came out before the game was over, I would put the jacket on over the Braves jersey and my Cubs cap back on, and let's beat the bullpen.
That's fair. That is fair.
One of the most painful moments of my life as a baseball fan was the 2008 playoffs, Cubs versus Dodgers. Cubs are down by 2 in, I think, the 7th inning. And who does Joe Torre motion to the bullpen for? Greg Maddux. I'm like, no, 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 no. This is an elimination game. It's the seventh inning. I cannot root
Mm,
against Craig Maddox. No, get him out, get him out, get him out.
dang. That's got to be tough. Which way
Well,
did you
particularly
go?
because he's an example of one of those guys. It's not like there weren't a lot of people who wanted him to stay in Chicago. It was one idiot general manager who didn't see his value. He wanted to stay in Chicago. He offered a Dawson. He offered a 1-year league minimum to stay in Chicago.
Mm,
And Larry Himes said, no, we signed Jose Guzman. Do you remember Jose Guzman?
I can't say
Neither
that.
does anybody else except big Greg Maddox fans.
That's awful. Man. So who did you cheer for?
When?
So you said he brought Maddox out?
Oh, I cheered for Maddox while praying for him to be pulled from the game with enough time to, and I cheered hard for the Cubs in the ninth when they were down by 3, and it was, I think, Eric Gagne on the mound. Didn't work out for us, but no, I couldn't root. I was happy that Maddox blanked them for 5 outs. I didn't want to be happy, but I was because he was Maddox. And for that matter, that was even old man Maddox, who, like, I
yeah.
loved how crafty he still was.
But I'm like that, like as a Laker fan, like certain people that they let go that I still like when they would play, like Nick Van Exel. I love that dude. So whenever he played against the Lakers, I'd be like, go ahead and beat us. We don't deserve it because they shouldn't have let you go.
Yeah.
So I get that.
Yeah. I haven't had many players like that. And I think in baseball, it pretty much has to be a pitcher to be full on like that.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted Mark Grace to do badly against the Cubs. But like, if Mark Grace hit 3 home runs and we scored 4 runs, then we were good. Because I certainly didn't want any other Diamondbacks to do well against the Cubs, right? So it takes that pitcher for to even really have it. Because baseball's that weird mix of team and individual sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's got to be tough, though.
Oh. No, there have been a number of players through my life that I just can't root against. I mean, occasionally they even wind up on the Yankees or Mets, and that makes my life really. I mean, Javi Baez on the Mets was hard for me.
I can see
Though
that.
I'm starting to become a little bit of a Mets fan, I blame Heidi McDonald and Fred Van Lente and Darren Bennett. They're all Mets fans, and they're winning me over. Particularly this year, they were so happy on the baseball and comics roundtable that you got to make it to next year.
Oh yeah, I think I was having was dealing with some stuff.
It happens. That's why I do them every year, man.
But let me know for next year.
I will. You're on my list of people to reach out to. So the book on Kickstarter now is The Bridges. It looks amazing. Go back it. Greg Burnham, I'm going to ask my favorite final question, which is, tell me something you love that not enough people have read or experienced. Obviously, preferably a comic, but I'll take any form of art or media. Something that you love that you wish more people had read, experienced, whatever, so you had more people to talk to about it.
I will say this, just don't let him hear this. One of my friends, Greg Anderson LSA, is a fantastic writer. He has a story, a series called Isnana the Were Spider, to play on Anansi. It's like Isnana is the son of Anansi. And it's really fun. I love the way that he writes. I love the way that he challenges, like the norms. So that is a book that I would say if you haven't read, and he's got multiple
Nana the
issues.
Were Spider. Very cool looking book.
Yeah. So
I did not know this before.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite writers, and he's a good friend. We were both blessed with amazing first names. So,
Okay. Okay.
but yeah, that's something that I try to tell people to check out.
Well, it just went on my list. Greg, it's always a blast. We got to find excuses to talk more often. I know you're busy as hell, so I get that.
I got some. I got this year. Last year, I kind of took a step back. I was doing some other stuff. This year, I'm trying to get back to producing on the writing end. So
Cool.
I got some pretty cool, stuff coming up. Not allowed to talk about yet, but when I am, I'll definitely yell at you.
Definitely hit me up. Just drop me an email. You don't have to wait for me to find you because, as we talked about earlier, I'm not as heavy on social. But if you drop the Kickstarter email, there's a good chance that I'll read it and go, "Ooh, Greg's doing something new. Got to write the email."
Gotcha.
I am decent at writing the instant. I think I wrote you the email about let's talk about bridges within like 2 or 3 minutes of getting the Kickstarter email. So that is one of my few skills.
You were on top of it.
So I'm hoping you have a great year. This has been a fantastic way to avoid the inauguration.
Oh yeah. I'm going to go back to playing some college football.
I've been playing the show.
Yeah, I have. Have you tried the college football yet?
I remember head injuries.
Oh yeah, that's right. Never mind.
I used to play Madden all the time, and I tried to play it, and I used to play NCAA football all the time, and like since I worked dementia care,
yeah,
and since I think two members, Dave Dewerson and possibly Emery Moorhead, though it was early enough that they didn't specifically say why, of the 85 Bears have committed CTE related suicide, and like Jim McMahon is in his 50s and in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
It's really hard for me to even watch video. I can't even go to high school. If I have students who are on the football team, I can't go watch them play. I can't handle it. It's just I want to run out there every time they hit their heads and go, "You shouldn't be here. Let's go read a book."
Right. That's fair.
Bowling's a good sport.
Right. Even though I've seen some people have some bad incidents in that.
Croquet. No, somebody might hit you with the mallet.
Yeah, that is
mini golf. Mini golf is a good sport.
That's almost a guaranteed, low injury sport.
Most of the time. I've seen injuries there too. You whack the ball off of enough things.
Jeez.
But generally not as bad.
Right.
Because the ball's smaller and coming at a much lower velocity most of the time.
This is true.
Though you can trip and fall in the water depending on the course.
Yeah.
Greg, it's been a blast. It's always nice to laugh with you. You're a funny guy. You write great comics. You're welcome back anytime for any reason. Come join a book club. We do Milestone once a month still. Come join Marcus Anderson and Ted Anderson and I. I'm just saying.
Man, I have to. It's just so hard to
I know.
pin dates down right now.
Well, and particularly, I'm acutely aware of the fact that when you're a freelance creator for your livelihood, makes scheduling things hard, particularly things that don't give you money or health insurance.
Yeah, I mean,
and sorry, I'm a teacher. I can't pay you money to come on my podcast.
Nah, but it's so fun coming on there. But yeah, I just tell people it's like I'm waking up every day hunting to eat. It's kind of fun sometimes.
Well, here's to good hunting, good gathering if necessary. If you must farm, go ahead. And again, we'll talk soon. For Greg Burnham, this has been 22 Panels, and we will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panelspodcast.